Hello, everyone. Welcome back after a very long break to another Broken Banners battle report. We got back recently from Nationals, and whew, that was a good time. I had an absolute blast, and I think everyone else that went there can more or less say the same thing. This was my first large event for basically anything I've gone to, for any game, definitely for Song. So being able to go to a dedicated Song event was really exciting, really cool. I've wanted to go to Nationals for Song for a few years, but it never really worked out. But I made sure that this year I was able to go out because I was really excited about a community run Song event. And it was amazing. It was absolutely worth the trip out to Chicago. We had an absolute blast. If you guys checked into the stream, you probably saw that we had some technical difficulties at a few points during the event, but the event itself was absolutely amazing. If you guys look on our YouTube channel, you can actually see some of the streamed games where top table for most of the games was put on there, and you can watch it in its full unedited footage and glory, and you can hear commentation from the tournament organizer Brian and our very own Adam Suter. Jan and I, the other two primary members of Broken Banners, that have been producing battle reports up until this point. We do have a fourth member who has been on the channel many a time who's going to be helping out with reports. I'm very excited for that. But Jan and I were out there in the trenches playing games with cameras following us throughout it. We only managed to get a few games recorded due to, again, some of our own technical difficulties. The batteries could only last so long into 4 round event days. Ryan was kind of going on out there on his own, also having a great time, and we just all had a blast. I'm really fortunate that I was able to record a couple of games and turn them into some decent footage that I'm going to be turning into a battle report. So without further ado, let's get into it. This game that I'm playing was round 3, and I played my Cotter Pike Helldiver list. I played this, I think, a couple times before on the channel, so if you want a deep rundown of the list and why I play it the way it does, go ahead and look there. But basically, we've got Cotter Pike and Sworn Swords to beat things up. I've got Ranger Trackers with a Watch Marshal and Shadow Tower Spearmen to give me a really consistent hand size and draw with Samuel Tarley, giving me an anchor point and something to harass the flanks, and Ranger Hunters that are really the meat and potatoes of this list. By sticking cold hands on out there, I can have these guys hell dive into the back lines and do some absolutely crazy damage, especially with Satin, that's going to allow me to charge off of the tactics board with Assault Orders. My Insu suite is Donal Noy, Eamon, and Corrin Halfhand. Corrin Halfhand's probably the only spicy pick here so far as Night's Watch goes, and that's my get out of jail free card when I overextend with either Cotter Pike or Cold Hands, and he's giving me that extra attack die, which is really valuable, especially on the Ranger Hunters. My opponent in round 3 is actually a listener and viewer of the channel, Max Maroney, who was absolutely delightful to play against. He was a fantastic opponent, not only in terms of skill, but also just sportsmanship. He was a delight to play with and talk with, and I was really glad I was able to meet him, not just because he watches the channel, which I think is really swell. Thank you, everyone who is out there watching right now. But again, he was just fantastic, and it was one of the things that I was really hoping to do when we went out to Chicago, is just meet more people that are playing our small little game, Song of Ice and Fire. So he's playing Lannisters, and he was playing a high Sparrow list. Admittedly, he was also had a traditional Gregor Smash list that I was actually really convinced he was going to play in the game mode. I don't know why I did. I don't know if I would have picked Cotter Pike Hell Divers into this list if I suspected it, but that's on me. That's my mistake. We have a high Sparrow starting off in House Bolton Blackguards. He's got intimidating presence in Bolton, so he's just a really nice anchor point to throw on out there. He doesn't really care if someone's getting engaged with him. He doesn't really have anything that demands the high Sparrows in the middle of the fight. He's just happy to be leading the flock in church-sanctioned violence. He's a really nice natural fit in House Bolton Blackguard, especially since they've gone up to speed 5, because you can kind of just run him down center or into the middle of the fight wherever you need and dare someone to attack you, because who doesn't want to attack into intimidating presence, horrific visage? Ooh, what a great time. I really hope you brought crossbows. Supporting him, we've got Castle Rock Honor Guard with Jaime Lannister and Lannister Halberdiers with a Gate Warden. I think these are some pretty solid picks. Castle Rock Honor Guard and Halberds, I both know, are some pretty solid staples of the Lannister faction right now because they're both just really solid units. But I think they have a lot of room and flexibility for attachments, and I'm not entirely surprised that Jaime Lannister got picked because, wow, that is a stacked 1-point attachment. Martial Training and Stalwart is just fantastic. It adds in a lot of extra oomph to any unit, and Stalwart is just good. Who doesn't want +2 morale? So setting Castle Rock to 3/3 saves with martial training, especially since they have the ability to get Sundering, I think is pretty goddamn nuts. Halberdiers are just kind of solid for 5 points. Like, they're really not like game changing, but Gate Warden I think is a nice little addition because it gives them some additional recovery. And hey, superior numbers is pretty nice, especially if someone's silly enough to attack on into you, because then you're going to be able to get superior numbers re-rolling your set for charge with his Sundering attack, and that's actually pretty spicy. The big spice in this list is the Warrior Sons with Barristan Selmy. This is a combo that I had seen even before we had 4 free attachment points because it is a really strong combination. It just used to be prohibitively expensive. Now that you get so many free attachment points, I'm surprised we don't see this more often. Barristan Selmy's bringing Stalwart in Duty to the Crown, which is basically super dauntless. So Warrior Sons are getting set to 4/3, which is great because they've got a faith mechanic, so they really want to be passing the morale test, and this is going to be helping them do that. And then Barristan Selmy is going to be giving them a lot of additional sustain. We've got a lot of healing, and considering High Sparrow's cards, as we saw earlier on the screen, are triggering morale tests for the units that are being used, these guys are always going to have faith tokens, and they're going to be popping off a lot of heals so long as you've got the crowns. And to that extent, in Lannisters, we're running Peter Baelish because Joffrey's just really not worth it. Sorry, buddy. And then we've got Tyrion Lannister and Tywin Lannister, who have some very potent once per games. For round 3, we were playing Honed and Ready on one of the preset battlefields. We got to actually choose where the terrain was. I just didn't catch it on camera. So we're starting off straight with deployment. I'm making Max deploy first because he got to choose turn order, and I chose table sides, and I made him get the stinky side, and he's going to be putting blackguard straight down the center because why wouldn't you? It's not like I have any decent ranged units. I'm going to choose to outflank because I'm stalling. I don't know how I want to deploy yet, and Jaime and Castle Rock Honor Guard's going to cuddle up next to the High Sparrow, which gives me an idea of where I want to go. I'm going to put Sam and Spears on the far end of the board away from the stakes because he doesn't have Pathfinder, and I don't want him to get ouchied. Max is going to go ahead and put Barristan Selmy's Warrior Sons on the other side of the High Sparrow, making sure that he's really cashing in on that Embolden so that his units are saving on a 2-up morale. Ooh. I'm then going to go ahead and put Helldiver Sergeant Pike on the opposite end across from the stakes because he can hurt himself a little bit. He's got a lot of self-healing. He just wants to fight, and I'll put him over across the states and hope the Warrior Sons run on over them to fight Pike. Max is then going to go ahead and deploy his halberds opposite from the Shadow Tower spears. And I'm going to go ahead and put my Ranger trackers next to my Sworn Brothers because they are fast enough that I can kind of get them to go wherever. Yeah, probably some of you guys are cringing, and that's plenty fair. Round 1 starts, and Max is going first. He's going to put Tywin onto the letters and make my Ranger trackers vulnerable. Donald's going to go on the horses, and I'm going to maneuver on my Ranger trackers. Tyrion takes the crowns and zaps my Sworn Brothers, doing absolutely nothing. I pass with Aemon, sending it back over to Max, who marches his Blackguard straight down the center. My turn, I'm going to go ahead and move up Sam's spears, and with their activation, attach the Shields of the Realms of Men before I march them on up, because I want them to be as tanky and sturdy as possible, especially considering those Castle Rock Honor Guard are going to beat them up, considering they're going to have vulnerable tokens, rerolls, sundering, all sorts of nasty stuff. Speaking of Castle Rock Honor Guard, they're going to go ahead and march on up across from the Shadow Tower spears, which I'm okay with. If they're going to beat up on anyone, let me choose the guy with the 3-up armor. Ranger trackers are going to activate, and I'm going to attach my favorite combo card for them, Watcher on the Wall, to give them +1 speed. That way, between their march and maneuver, they have got Pathfinder and 21 inches to move with. That's a lot of inches. That's like 7 times as many inches that I'm normally dealing with. So after my maneuver and march, which I have some trouble with because, again, it's a lot of distance, I get them onto the stakes and position them so they're not completely covering up the point so they don't get shot to bits. And I'm like, ooh, hoo, hoo, I have Pathfinder. Go ahead and charge me. It's going to suck for you, but not for me. Max is going to say, all right, bet. And he's going to go ahead and march up his warrior sons and point them towards my ranger trackers. I'm getting a little nervous because normally people don't do that. And I'm like, ooh, he's smarter than me. That's not good. So I activate my sworn brothers, attach now his watch is ended, and march them on up, hoping that I'll be able to give them some sustain so that they can duke it out with the warrior sons and I can get somebody into the rear. Then Max is going to go ahead and put Peter onto bags and shoot my sworn brothers because I completely covered the point because I am a ding-dong. I, on my turn, am going to go ahead and mark target to make Barristan Selmy vulnerable, and I'm going to put Corin onto swords to do absolutely nothing. After that, Max is going to go ahead and have his halberds march on up, and that'll be the end of round 1. Max was pretty clever with how he chose the turn order, and he made sure that I'm going to have to either outflank round 1 or I'm going to outflank round 3, and he counted on me being greedy and holding back until round 3, and sure enough, that's exactly what I did. So round 2 starts. I have first activation and really not much good to do with it. So I activate Corin, put him onto the letters, influencing Cotter Pike and making the halberds vulnerable. Max is going to go ahead, take Tyrion onto the bags, and shoot Cotter for 3 wounds. Ouch. I'm going to go ahead and activate Aemon, put him onto the horses, and get Cotter off that point before I lose a unit to absolutely nothing, and heal him too with Aemon because Aemon is a crutch that I desperately need because I am not very good at this game. Max is going to go ahead and pass with Tywin, but I go ahead and maneuver on my spears and attach the fires that burn against the cold onto them. Peter's going to take the crowns and zap my horses, but they are very brave this game, which is good because I failed every panic test the game before, and that really sucked. I go ahead and put Donald onto the swords to shoot the halberds with the zone and get some wounds through. Max moves up his blackguard onto the center point, where they will stay for the entirety of the game unbothered because I don't want to touch that with a 14-foot pole. Then, on my turn, I'm going to go ahead and maneuver the Sworn Brothers back onto the point because all the zones are taken and I feel nice and safe. Castle Rock Honor Guard are going to march on up to threaten my poor defenseless spears, who are going to get absolutely bullied because they are in a 2v1 scenario and set for charge is really only good once. But it's okay, I have a very cunning plan up my sleeve. My turn. I go ahead and use adaptive planning to turn the vulnerable token onto Barristan Selmy to a weakened token. I'm going to attach the light that brings the dawn onto my horses, and I'm going to wiggle them so that they're taking the point, and no matter how he charges me in a line, he's going to have to touch the stakes. And I have an inch that I can retreat back with my swift retreat in case he charges on in. I'm so clever. He's then going to go ahead and activate his halberds, maneuvering them onto the point, and healing 2 with reinforcements. My turn, I'm going to use the Ranger Tracker's other order. And I'm going to put a vulnerable token back out onto Barristan Selmy. I don't have anything else, though, because I outflanked, so that's really it. I just get to start a turn trigger, so it goes straight to Max's turn. Max is going to go ahead, and he's going to have his warrior sons charge on into my Ranger Trackers. He's going to take a few wounds on the stakes, and with the weakened token, he's actually really not going to get much damage through. I don't even have to use a Donald token, because he's got the Sundering. He's using a Faith token for that, so I'm like, why bother? I'm already saving on 6s. So I'm only going to lose an entire horse off that. He lost 3 wounds, I lost 3 wounds. I'm so smart. I go ahead, pass the morale test, very nice. I play Watcher on the wall so that I can pivot my Shadow Tower spears and not get flanked by the Castle Rock Honor Guard and not swift retreat away from the Warrior Sons. Uh-oh, this is where things get bad. Some people took shots in the interim, but that's really not that important. Again, I think I'm so clever. I'm outflanking my Ranger Hunters, and I'm like, great, I'm about to absolutely obliterate this poor guy. But, oh, here's the start of turn Tywin Bomb. I take 3 wounds off the hits. I don't take any damage off the panic test, even after the panic token, which is pretty cool. But I am going to lose all my abilities for the round. Not the turn, the round. He's then going to put Peter onto the crowns, replacing it with the swords to beat me up a little bit. He uses Hear Me Roar. I get really lucky and just barely pass because I got the morale boost from my card, and I've got 3 wounds left on my trackers who do not have Pathfinders while they're sitting on stakes. Uh-oh. I activate Aemon to try and heal them up, but oh no, there's the intrigue and subterfuge. Aemon does nothing. I take the swords, and I'm going to go ahead and play Assault Orders to try and get Cotter Pike on in there to save myself. But ooh, counterplot is in hand, and he's already got the crowns, so he just needs to roll a 2 or higher on his counterplot to make my Assault Orders a worthless piece of cardboard. And surprise, he rolls the dice, and sure enough, it's not a 1. Assault Orders does nothing. So I'm just going to go ahead and shoot the halberd sums. I'm very nervous. I battle plan to ditch a couple of cards and dig something on out of my deck. Tywin's going to take the bags and heal up Barristan, who got bruised up off the stakes. I've made some really bad mistakes. I've made a lot of mistakes on the stakes. So Corrin's going to go ahead and take the letters, and I'm going to try and weaken Barristan Selmy. So while I try and stall for as much time as I can before I can hopefully beat up the unit that is sitting on stakes with his flank exposed to my commander's unit. I'm going to put the Corrin influence onto Cotter Pike. Tyrion's going to go ahead and go on to the horses, and he's going to maneuver the halberds on around and have them face towards the flank of my spears now that he knows he's not about to get outflanked in the rear. Because, yeah, that was originally what I wanted to do, but he was ahead of me on that one and positioned himself well. My turn, I'm going to Reckless Heroism to get Cotter Pike on in there, and I'm going to charge into Barristan Selmy's flank, not touching the stakes. Good job, me. And I'm going to play Reckless Strike to give myself critical blow and precision, because I'm hoping I've got Sundering in his flank, he's saving on 6s, I'm going to punch through some massive damage on this guy. He's going to regret parking himself on the stakes, and I'm going to trade my Ranger Trackers for Barristan Selmy's unit. But he plays Protection of the Father and uses his Faith Token to go ahead and block basically everything. He didn't make any saves, Protection of the Father and the blocking off the hits, and then healing off the morale test because he passes it. Surprise, I did 1 wound after an 8 dice attack. I play Take the Black, and Fueled by Slaughter helps, and I heal a bunch of wounds up, but I'm feeling really silly that I just used an activation to do nada. Blackguard dirtles around to go, ooh, look at me, I'm in your flank, I'm scary, I'll definitely charge you. Cold Hands is going to go ahead and charge on in, because I'm thinking like, okay, well, he's only got the 1 Protection of the Father left. What are the chances that he's going to be able to have to use it? Well, the answer is not very high. I only get 2 wounds through, because he uses a Fate Token again to block a hit. I get nothing because he passes the morale test and then heals. But I'm like, that's fine. That's not really what I'm aiming for. I'm going to retreat. I'm going to get off into the flank, and I'm going to shoot this guy in his flank. Maybe now I can actually get him to fail the morale test, break the cycle, have him lose out on the faith tokens because he's been running more or less neutral on this one, and I can beat him up. So I go ahead, I make my shots. I actually get a bunch of hits through, but he makes a bunch of armor saves himself, and sure enough, he takes 2 wounds and heals it right back. I pass both my morale tests firing into combat, so at least Cotter Pike gets to heal a wound himself off of now his watch is ended, but my poor Ranger Tracker is doing absolutely nothing. He's got 3 wounds sitting on stakes. He's got a 2 in 3 chance that if he activates, he's just going to die when he takes action. So Warrior Sons are going to go ahead and attack on into him to try and finish them off. He only gets a wound after I use a Donald token. I played Shields to try and save them, but Tyrion counterplotted it. So yeah, I activate the trackers. They have to declare a retreat. They die on the stakes. It's over. Halberds are going to go ahead and charge on into my Shadow Tower spears, healing 2 for the trouble of activating with Reinforce. I also have set for charge though, and woo, he bombs all of his armor saves. I feel a little bit better about what happened, but then I bomb all of my armor saves. Our stabby boys are just stabbing each other right good over on that point over there. I'm realizing, ooh, this is a bad place to be. I don't want to get flanked and double teamed. I'm just going to get absolutely beat up, and it's way too early in the game to lose 2 units this early. So I go ahead and declare a retreat with my spears. They roll a 6, and I get them the hell out of there. He's not going to be able to maneuver onto that point, so I think, okay, whatever, maybe I can at least get him to overextend, and I could start figuring out what to do over there. And maybe I'll be able to do something about the Barristan Selmy. I'm feeling very silly about the Ranger Tracker loss. I positioned myself well to be smart, but then made the wrong choice, going for the Watcher on the wall over the Swift Retreat. Some shots go out, some people take wounds, none of my guys because I don't have anyone on points, so my scoreboard's not doing so great. I'm going to go ahead and put Corrin onto the swords right off the bat and influence Cotter Pike, and he's going to go slam on in with rerolls off martial training, and ooh, there's the other Protection of the Father. The great result of my 8 dice attack that landed all 8 hits onto this guy is he healed, actually, by the end of it. But he is going to go ahead and activate and take max damage off the stakes to go ahead and retreat. So I guess I did something by the end of it. That was off of Tyrion claiming the horses. So I'm going to go ahead and put Donald onto the bags on my turn so I can try and heal up the spears. Because at this point, I'm giving up on trying to kill the warrior sons and giving up generally on fighting. Tywin's going to go ahead and pass on Max's turn, and I'm going to go ahead and march my sworn brothers onto the point, thinking, fine, if they take a few shots, they take a few shots. And sure enough, Peter goes straight onto the crowns and shoots my sworn brothers, taking a couple wounds off them. It's not the worst thing out there. I go ahead and activate my spears, and I'm going to go ahead and maneuver them on up. Max's turn, Mercy the Mother goes out onto the warrior sons. When they activate, he passes the morale test, so he's going to heal a whopping 4 wounds off of the card itself, and then 2 off of Barristan Selmy before he maneuvers and starts getting back in towards where the fight is going on the opposite end, and where Barristan can hopefully sit the back point and support the halberds. I go ahead and march up my Ranger Hunters, and this is probably one of the most embarrassing things that I've ever done in my life on camera, and I've done some stupid things. I forgot that I had Pathfinder on Cold Hands, so I go ahead and take 2 wounds for absolutely no reason because I'm not very smart. Castle Rock Honor Guard are going to go ahead and maneuver up and take that point that I thought I had just about blocked with the corner of my tray, that he wouldn't be in an inch, but oops, there we are. Aemon is going to go onto the letters, healing me a couple of wounds, and I'm going to play Assault Orders because I don't plan on using it for anything else, and yeah, I'm embarrassed again as I take more wounds off of the stakes for no good reasons. I blew up stakes that I didn't need to, I took 5 wounds off of the stakes that I didn't need to, just... I ain't proud of myself on this one. Halberds are going to go ahead and maneuver and take that back point, and I'm just going to kind of dirtle around over there, and we are playing for points. Shots are going out, and I'm starting to put this on in because it's starting to get relevant how much the units are taking as we are both getting attritioned. He's got more consistent healing, but he's rolling pretty god-awful on a lot of these shots, and his halberds are getting absolutely beat up. All things considered, my guys are doing pretty well, considering how many times that they've gotten shot, especially the Ranger Hunters, who actually have a really low armor, but just have been getting really lucky. The dice wanted to make the game look better than I let it with my very poor skill. Round 5 starts. Start of turn, he's going to go ahead and toss out Lannister, pays his debts onto his Castle Rock Honor Guard, the very least likely to die, but still likely to be involved in a fight. Tywin is going to go onto the bags, and he's going to shoot my Ranger Hunters because they are saving 5 up, and they are squishy. But ooh, look at that, 4 armor saves out of 4. Nice job, dice. Aemon takes the crowns, getting intrigued and subterfuge, weak and going out on the spears, but the shots connect, and the halberds are dead. Max, on his turn, is going to use Peter's once per game to claim the crowns, and he's going to put Tyrion onto the horse, and he's going to maneuver Selmy. My turn, the spears are going to charge on into the Castle Rock Honor Guard, and I'm going to play Swords in the Darkness to put 2 tokens out onto him and do absolutely no damage even after the tokens. Start of his next turn, I sacrifice Corrin, targeting the Castle Rock Honor Guard. That's actually a really big play, and I promise I'm very smart and it'll make sense soon. He doesn't quite get why I did what I did yet, though. He just puts Peter onto the swords and shoots my hunters and deals a wound. I put Donald onto the letters and shoot the Castle Rock Honor Guard for a couple of wounds, and he's like, okay, whatever. Blackguard are just going to dirtle around. I dirtle my Ranger Hunters. He go ahead and marches his warrior sons, and unfortunately, he is able to make it onto that point in that one march. I feel very bad about that, but there's not much I can do. I dirtle my Sworn Brothers, and the Castle Rock Honor Guard have no choice but to retreat, because they were engaged with my Shadow Tower spears, giving up the point. I feel very smart about that, and then I take a ton of damage off the walls, and I don't feel so smart anymore. The scoreboard doesn't look too terrible, all things considered, but my guys are getting really beat up, and he's now scoring 3 to my 2. So again, I am going to lose. I have accepted that. The halberds were a really nice lucky shot, but I'm just trying to keep things narrow or standard. My turn, Aemon goes onto the bags and heals the Ranger Hunters up 6 wounds between his heal and the zone. Tyrion takes the crowns and shoots the Ranger Hunters a couple of wounds. I put Donald onto the horse to move them back off. Peter goes onto the swords and shoots the Sworn Brothers for a couple of wounds. Ranger Hunters now move back onto the point to try and draw fire away from the Sworn Brothers. Doesn't work. Tywin goes onto the letter, shoots the Sworn Brothers, 2 more wounds. I dirtle the Sworn Brothers. The warrior sons go ahead and maneuver, the spears charge on in and get a disorderly. That makes me feel really bad for the 2 pike aggressions I have in hand, but whatever. I'm just trying to connect and stop him from getting onto the point and scoring. And sure enough, that's going to work there. But now we still have to do the scoring, which means we have to get shot, and the deciding factor on how badly I lose comes down to, am I going to roll a miracle save with my sworn brothers, and are they going to die for the scoring? I figured it might as well be worth scoring with them, because even if they die, it's a net neutral. If I get lucky, cool. I don't get lucky, they die. Unfortunate, that's going to be that. The score gets tallied on up, points go on up there, and you're going to see that on the screen in a second. That was the game in more or less 20-ish minutes. I think maybe even 15. This was definitely one of the faster battle reports, but I did a lot more rambling because I just felt like there was a lot to talk about with my opponent Max and just how wonderful he was. Seriously, everybody that I got a chance to meet, and even a lot of the people I didn't get a chance to meet but overheard at Nationals, were absolutely fantastic. I am so fortunate that I was able to make it on out there. I feel really bad for all the people that were not able to make it on out there, and I'm really hoping that if/when Nationals happens again, more people can get on out there. I think we hit just shy of 50 people for the main event. I don't know how many people made it to the team's event because I was not able to stick around for that. Technically, I was working the following day on that Monday, so I had to get on a plane at like 5 a.m. It sucked, but it was worth it to go ahead and meet all of these wonderful people out here. And if you guys are, some of you watching this video right now, I'm really glad I was able to meet you. On the first day, I was one of the guys wearing the Broken Banner shirts. Towards the later end of the day, I was the one who was shouting very loudly, probably begging on my hands and knees for a Baratheon player to not kill Jorah Mormont because he has a wife and kids. Don't ask me what was in my cup in the event hall because we were not allowed to bring alcohol in there, so I definitely didn't do that. Don't worry about that. But that's enough of that. We are hoping to get back onto a regular release schedule. We're probably going to have a much more variety kind of upload schedule going on. It's not really concrete on how often our videos are going to be song, but we are planning on still doing at least one song report every month for the indefinite future. Hoping to get 2 releases out every month because we're, again, aiming to do every other week. So we're hoping to get 3 things out in December and see where things go from there. Jan is going to be coming back with shorter reports, mostly focusing on Shatterpoint. Ryan is now officially one of the official brothers of the Broken Banners, so he is going to hopefully be putting out some of his own content on the channel in the near future, which I'm so excited for. Ryan's one of my favorite people that I've met through any kind of game, definitely a war game, and having him participate even more than he has before, just being a frequent guest, is really exciting, and I'm very happy about that. Adam will continue doing Adam stuff, and yeah, we're just happy to be back, that we're starting to get our lives back in order and under control, and we can make more time for our hobbies and get back to you guys. So, as I'm sure you saw, and if you're still listening up until this point, please, everyone, do me a favor. I made a ton of mistakes that game. Go ahead and compile an entire list of all the mistakes that I made and put them in a comment. Maybe we'll even do a competition for the person who spots the most mistakes because, Lord, there were a lot of them. But that's one of the reasons why I like doing these battle reports. Hopefully, I won't make these same mistakes in the future now that I've been able to dissect it on camera and feel thoroughly embarrassed. And hopefully, you guys watching won't make the same mistakes that I do. Hopefully, you guys will not go on out there charging on into Barristan Selmy Warrior Sons thinking like, yeah, I can kill them. It won't be that big of a deal. Cotter Pike, go slap, 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 slap. Cotter Pike didn't go slap, 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 slap. He got slap, slap, slapped. It was a lot of slapping. I was on the receiving end for basically all of it. And quite frankly, if it weren't for the dice absolutely saving me several points throughout that game, it would have been a complete and absolute blowout. Max played me under the table. It was phenomenal play on his part and awful play on my part, but sometimes that's the best learning experience, and there was no one I would rather lose to than Max. Max, if you're watching this, thanks for sticking it out to the very end of this long, drawn-out video, and I hope to play against you soon, and to hear from all of you guys watching these, replying to these, interacting with us generally in the future. Take care.